All right, ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor, like and share this video to the moon. Like and share this video to the moon. At least give us 1,000 likes. No, this is not fear-mongering. This is what is going to happen next. I'm always ahead of the curve. I always tell you what's going to happen next. And there is a massive planned collapse of the U.S. Treasury market coming. And I'm not the only one saying this. Janet Yellen and the revolving door of Washington, D.C. and the central bank and the Federal Reserve Board and former governors are actually warning of this right now. In fact, if you go to my Twitter account at AMTV Media, I'll be posting content and articles in relation to this, but I'm expecting a total blow up of the U.S. Treasury market and a Pigs Nation style collapse. But again, trust this plan. This is actually what they want, to transfer the wealth more and then to condition everybody to accept socialism and universal basic income here in the United States of America after all the wealth has been transferred to the elites. Again, I've been warning about this for years. Let me give you a specific example of this, and I'm going to give you exact moves and tips and how to play this and profit, by the way, in today's video. With inflation rates at, let's just say, 7.5%, and I would argue it's far worse than that. It's double digits in the United States. But let's be conservative for a moment and say inflation's only 7.5% in the United States of America. That means every 9 years, you've lost half of your money. So every 9 years, half of your real wealth has been confiscated in the United States of America, even if inflation's only at 7.5%. Okay, I would argue that we are nearing 20% annually here in the United States. So we are very much in Zimbabwe-esque, Argentina collapse-esque territory now. And so let's talk about the coming events, political events, and also economic, financial events, and of course, how to profit from all this planned chaos that's going to happen undoubtedly in the coming days, weeks, and months. Breaking reports, and again, we expected this. I fully expected this, and they want this, and they want to create this polarization. Merrick Garland, the Attorney General here in the United States, is planning to indict the former president of the United States right after the midterms and ahead of the election. So I would count on that. Plan on a Trump indictment post the midterm election. Now, I think Republicans are going to win overwhelmingly, and we're going to see a transition to conservatism in the midterms, but expect an indictment. And the only reason that there's going to be an indictment is because they want to create more political division and chaos in the United States. This is how they achieve their objective. Again, the two-party system is an illusion. Republican and Democrat isn't real. The political system is insolvent. It's morally, economically decayed, and it's absolutely bankrupt. So the intent actually is to divide. This is what you need to understand. The intent of the Republican-Democrat paradigm is to collapse the country, is to divide people. So the indictment of Trump is a planned event to get people really pissed off and angry, to use that division for further controls and for the further plan that they'll be pursuing. But let's get into the Treasury market, because the Treasury market is in the process of collapsing now. Now, of course, we've seen this with the Bank of England and pensions basically going out of business. And the Bank of England had to go in and intervene, of course, so that pensions did not collapse and its currency did not collapse just several days ago. In fact, Liz Truss, who was only in power for 45 days, it's now come out and been leaked that not only had her cell phone been hacked and key proprietary intelligence information had been taken by alleged rogue states, China and Russia, but she had been seriously warned of a nuclear event in Europe, in the Black Sea, of which she became perpetually interested in weather patterns and wind patterns, as she was very worried that the United Kingdom would be exposed to nuclear fallout and radiation. So the nuclear risk is very real, and I believe that that event is going to happen. In fact, follow me on Twitter. It's been kind of interesting during the previous lockdowns in February. I remember there was a nuclear-powered submarine that came up right in front of my house with its periscope up. This was, I think, February 2020. And in recent days, I've aired all this footage. We've identified the naval destroyer. We've had one come over here from Honolulu, but last night I had some friends over, and a nuclear-powered sub surfaced right next to it. So patrolling our seas and getting ready, of course, for the big one. So let's talk about the Treasury market. And I did talk a little bit about this on Twitter earlier today. And let's talk about the upcoming events. So we have the midterms. We then have the central bank meeting. And here's what they're going to do. We already know what they're going to do. Inflation won't stop. My advice has been excellent advice. It's not financial advice, I have to say that. But it's been excellent advice. Not only the doggy coin, the Dogecoin position went up 100%, massive profits over the weekend. That's just an example over that. But I've been telling you for months, 6 months ago, inflation wasn't going to stop. It doesn't matter how much the Federal Reserve hikes interest rates. Okay, we are still essentially at 0% on interest rates, even with the 75 basis point hikes. So what I'm expecting the Federal Reserve to do, and this is why the Federal Reserve needs to be ended, okay, and I always agreed with Ron Paul, end the central bank and end the Federal Reserve. They're expected to hike another 75 basis points, but then with their language, say that they're going to start easing those hikes. So, even if we're looking at this objectively with real estate, real assets, of course, I'm the founder and creator of the Island Project, the first tokenized real estate portfolio in the world, focusing on the best of breed asset class, oceanfront, beachfront, high cash flow producing condos and bug out retreats locally here in Maui, Hawaii. I'm expecting a pause, which we're currently getting in the market. You're going to see parts of the market take a little bit of a dip, and everything is then going to skyrocket once again. The one thing that I can guarantee you, the one thing that I can guarantee you is a hyperinflationary permanent collapse here in the United States. So pick your opportunities very, very closely. Also, I'll be doing a video privately at school for the club. I'll include links in a minute on how to absolutely profit and make your first $1 million in this treacherous market in the coming months. This is how big the opportunity is right now. I believe that the cryptocurrency market, and I'm calling this now, is bottoming. And the marker for that, I already released a private video at school on this at the club. I said the marker for that was Elon Musk's purchase and acquisition of Twitter. And the reason is, and this is why we profited 100%, we just doubled our money in Dogecoin. I personally made over $50,000 in less than 48 hours. Okay, some of my students even did better than that. I should have actually bet more, but I always stick to my trading strategy and I don't get too greedy. And this is empowering stuff, by the way, guys. Annual incomes in days. I mean, if you could figure out how to do this with a 9 to 5, let me know about it. Okay, because I've never found another opportunity in the world outside of technology where your education doesn't matter, the color of your skin and your religion doesn't matter. No one cares, even your age. Ageism doesn't matter. You can go out and make millions and millions of dollars in cryptocurrency in the blockchain space and on the internet, social media, e-commerce, and no one even cares who you are, if you've even been to school, if you can even speak clearly. No one cares if you're good looking or not good looking. This is where you can do it. But I believe that the purchase of Twitter that Elon Musk has just acquired will be that marker for a number of reasons. Number one, many believe, and I actually believe, that Elon Musk, Thiel, and the PayPal Mafia are the founders of a lot of the cryptocurrency blockchain technology, which was all open sourced and DARPA'd from the early stages and then put out to the private market for developers to go out and develop the technology. Just like the internet was a DARPA project that came off the Cold War. And we are in Cold War 2.0 right now. And you have to understand the whole agenda here is to reset the economic financial system, to get rid of and degrade the petrodollar, to collapse into a new energy infrastructure, to control global populations. See, this is fourth generation warfare. This is what I want you to understand. And I've been saying this for years. You're in fourth generation World War III warfare right now. This is what people don't understand. All the objectives of world wars are being accomplished right now, digitally, with AI, with the geopolitical landscape, with the proxy wars in Ukraine, with the eventual Chinese invasion of Taiwan, which is imminent, with the nuke card, all the things that you're being warned about on a daily basis and conditioned and psychologically brainwashed by the mainstream media. So this is all a part of the reset in their own words. So I'm expecting the U.S. Treasury market to collapse. Now, billionaires have been warning of capital controls in the United States for some time, and this will play into that. This is why you need to get out of the banks. Again, if inflation's only 7.5% a year, and I would argue it's far more than that. I mean, take a look at your own bank accounts, take a look at your own housing costs, how food prices have skyrocketed and energy have skyrocketed. And this is another key point. The reason why we're not going to get a deflationary collapse, in my opinion, is because of all the policies. But in addition to that, the sanctions. The war in Ukraine is stifling global trade. So you can't get stuff. So that provides a floor for even more inflation. If you can't get grain, notice Russia and Vladimir Putin has backtracked out of those dealings. Notice how China and Saudi Arabia are pivoting from the United States because the U.S. is no longer the global hegemony superpower. We are a very weak country, and I would say we're probably in the top 20 tier, but we're definitely not number one anymore. These pressures and these sanctions, and this is what they want. They want a global integrated order. They don't want sovereign nation states. And this is why so much pressure has been put on the United States in recent years. And it's also why they're creating the manufactured division, and the Trump indictment is all but guaranteed. Because you've got to see the forest through the trees and understand really what they're doing here. So it's crazy how many people are still in the two-party system and think that that's a solution when it's absolutely not. You are the solution, ladies and gentlemen. And there's actually incredible opportunity in all this madness right now if you're smart enough to take advantage of it. So we have the Federal Reserve meeting coming up. We know that they're going to backtrack. The only thing we can guarantee is hyperinflation and bailouts into infinity. That's what the central bank is good at. We can count on division. We can count on Donald Trump's indictment post the midterms. And these are some just basic points that I wanted to make today. So let me go to some of these articles real quick. This is what I just had posted privately. And make sure to click the links and join us at Island Project Club, because I'm going to do a blockbuster video today on not just all these key points, but how to make money and how to protect yourself. Not just protect yourself from hyperinflation, 7.5% minimum annual compounding inflation, which means 50% of your wealth is confiscated every 9 years. If you're a baby boomer or you're on a fixed income or you're on Social Security, half of your wealth is taken from you every 9 years. So take 9 times 2, double that, you're absolutely bankrupted and at zero as a result of central bank Federal Reserve policies and the hyperinflation that they are responsible for and have caused. So I'm looking for this article. I must have misplaced it in the regarding the Treasury market. Also, we see Brazil moving away from Bolsonaro and going left. So that's been a political transition that we just witnessed. So here we go. Tremors in the U.S. Treasury bond market. Now, for those of you that think it can't happen, just remind yourself that the whole world collapsed in 2008-09 as a result of the policies of the too big to fail banks that sold crooked loans to people, okay, and then securitized all that crooked, scammy debt, and then sold it on Wall Street 1 million times through derivatives, a multi-quadrillion-dollar market, screwed you, then collapsed the entire system, and then confiscated through foreclosures and short sales most of the inventory, then controlled the market. Okay, this is what the big banks did, and then just put out certain amounts of supply to control the market for themselves to profit again. So not only did they take your bailout money, they caused the collapse, they profited on the bubble. I've talked about this for years. Profited on the collapse, took your stuff, and then sold it again by controlling the market in a fake crony capitalist system, which is the United States of America. But this article is the Washington Post. It says tremors in the Treasury bond market worry Wall Street in Washington. And it says things, well, like, this isn't Zimbabwe. So, I mean, people still have faith in the U.S. Well, people are going to lose faith in the United States during a hyperinflationary storm. And that's the point. Again, they were telling you about UBI and universal basic income February, March of 2020, because this was already the plan. This is already the agenda pieces and agenda items. So this is a crisis. This is a pig-style, Zimbabwe-esque, Argentinian peso collapse of the U.S. petrodollar. And we see this with absolute obviousness. The rest of the world is selling U.S. Treasury debt. China is an enemy of the United States. Russia is a black sheep to the United States. India moving and pivoting away from the United States. No one wants to own a Treasury bond, and if you do, you're bankrupt. Every 9 years, again, your wealth is being confiscated through inflation. If we estimate that inflation is only 7.5%, which I would argue is much, much higher. So the financial system isn't healthy at all. But again, this is by design. And the design here is to create an emergency and to create a panic here in the hearts and minds of everyday Americans so that they can reset the system. It's only through sheer emergency and collapse, just like 2008-09 and the bailouts, and just like in recent years, that they, through executive declaration and essentially no votes, can they pass all of these new policies to implement the new systems by dictate, without votes, without any participation of the public. Same thing which happened in the last couple of years. You're non-essential and they're essential. So that's just how it works. And see, for me, guys, you are essential. See, I'm the good guy, right? Hard hitting it in your face. You, to me, are all the essentials, not the Fortune 100 and the billionaire class. So, let's remind ourselves who's really in charge here in the United States of America. It's not our politicians. It's you and I. So again, I didn't vote to send $100 billion of my taxpayer funds to Zelensky so he could sail on a yacht and sip champagne and waste those worthless dollars when he's not even a NATO country. So I don't support that war at all. I pray for the people in Ukraine and I pray for people all over the world, but I absolutely do not defend and I do not support that war at all. It's hurting the United States of America. It's bankrupting the United States of America, and we have no strategic interest there outside of the engineered, pre-planned collapse, which is why we're involved. Again, Rome collapsed as a result of its egregious wars, its military buildup, its military-industrial complex, and then the clipping of its coinage through inflationary measures that sent it into the Dark Ages. We saw the same thing with ancient Egypt. So this is all by design, and we can really just look at the United States as no longer a key player on anything. It's much like England and the collapse of the British pound, of which George Soros sold short and made billions and billions of dollars. I've spoken with Jim Rogers many times, interviewed him in places like Singapore, and I've given him tours of the blockchain market and spoken to him directly about cryptocurrency. He, of course, worked directly with George Soros at the Quantum Fund and went on to go make hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. And full disclosure, he wasn't a big fan of Bitcoin, and I don't think that he is, but he's a huge fan of blockchain technology. So let's talk about this for a minute. All the institutions are getting in. So I'll tell you what I'm doing personally. I'm aggressively buying all cryptocurrency right now. When retail is out, okay, retail has no interest. They think Bitcoin is dead and they think it's boring, which is why I'm buying. This is how I got rich in the first place. All the institutions are buying, okay? They're buying on low volatility. And if we look back at 2018, before the last bear market to bull run turn, we saw similar conditions in the marketplace. Also, what Elon Musk is doing and integrating with Twitter, he will be blockchainifying, the Twitter app. So he's going to be using Dogecoin, using Bitcoin, using smart contract technologies, and maybe his own proprietary coins and blockchain in the future. So there's a key reason I'm mentioning this, because the private video I do at the club today, and I have a lot of callbacks to get in touch with you, Philip, I'll be giving you a call. I just responded via email. You're a new club member, so expect a call from me. I'll text you on some available times here in a minute. There's a key play to make here, okay? There's a key 1000x profit opportunity as a part of all these trends that I'm only gonna reveal at school. I don't just give everything away for free. You have to invest in yourself. I hear people say this all the time, like, Christopher, if I would have listened to you, I'd be rich now. Well, yeah, you could have gotten into the school just a couple $100 years ago. Now it's $1,500. So I keep raising prices as the market develops and matures, as we should, because frankly, I don't have time to talk with all of you. Okay, I'm a busy guy, and I don't say that from an egocentric standpoint, just the truth. So as the market matures, as we go from $1 trillion to $2 trillion to $5 to $10 trillion, expect the prices of all my courses and subscriptions to keep going up tenfold along the way, which also rewards those of you that got in early. Like, the reason I'm going to make everyone rich at Island Project is because you guys are the early birds that bet on yourself first. So I'm going to make all of you 1000x rich. You're the only ones that are going to get my blockchain when I go live with it, and you're the only people that I'm going to reward. I'm going to reward diamond nuts across the board and diamond ovaries to all of you that got in and bet on yourself. Not when we're hitting the next top. Okay, not when Bitcoin's trading at 100K and all of you are telling me it's obvious. Okay, that's too late. So people will be panic buying out of the dollars and out of worthless fiat and out of the collapsing banking system in the coming months. And that's just the hardcore truth. So major financial, political, economic transitions. And keep in mind, Britain was on the verge of collapse just a couple days ago. So the entire pension market here in the United States as well depends on actual return on investment. So all these managed funds, which, let's say you're a firefighter or you're in education or you're a part of a public pension fund, in a 0% interest rate market, none of these funds have been able to produce any kind of value or gains in recent years. So they're going bankrupt. You have an upside down pyramid scheme, and you also have a demographic change where there's so many retirees in the United States as a part of the demographic move to baby boomers that the underclass can't support the current infrastructure. The only thing they can do is collapse. There's really nothing else they can do. It's a mathematical certainty. It's not even an opinion at this point. Now, this could be reversed. If we had good people in Washington and we didn't have a central bank and we had true capitalism, everything would have been fine. The 2008-09 collapse would have been more painful and it would have taken longer, but we would have worked our way out of it in a healthy way. See, what all the bailouts have done and the financial engineering and most of the wealthy, the hedge fund managers on Wall Street, they don't even create real stuff. They're just trading securities back and forth. I know this firsthand. They create no value in society at all. They trade one derivative from another derivative that they've created from nothing. Okay, 1 quadrillion moves over here, one contract moves over here. There's no real value added. They create it out of nothing. And these are the wealthiest people in the world. The wealthiest people in the world also don't work harder than you. Okay, they work less and they make more. And their money works for them. This is another key thing that I teach at schools, how you can get your money to actually work for you. If you're not in a situation where you can't make money when you sleep, then you'll never be rich. If you always have to go to work 9 to 5, you're never going to be rich. Your assets have to produce income and cash flows for you. This is what Island Project does. The cash flows produce, we as managers, my team, my father, and other members of our consulting team produce cash flows for you while you sleep. Your investment is entrusted into the real asset with zero debt. All Island Project real estate has zero debt. I constructed that for a reason. And the leverage point is the 1000x opportunity as I blockchain it and take it public worldwide and then only reward our founders. And those are the only people that are going to be rewarded. And it's a key point. The reason I'm making the point, number one, you should get in. I'll include links below and up here, the club and also the private placement. I've built businesses around and do everything that I recommend to you guys. Like if you've noticed, I made most of the majority of my wealth in crypto. And as a result of being an early mover in social media and that technology. Got rich in crypto. And now what am I doing? I'm doing the same thing I'm advising all of you guys to do. I'm diversifying into real estate and then a real asset with no debt. And then I'm blockchainifying the asset class. And I'm the first person in the world to do that before everybody else. So even myself, if you see what I'm doing with my wealth, people are like, Christopher, what are you doing? I'm telling you to do the same thing that I'm actually doing, which is taking the wealth in the concentrated position because you always make the most money in concentrated positions when you go all in. I went all in social media. That's how I made my first $1 million. Then I went all in crypto, under $1,000 Bitcoin across the market, not just Bitcoin that I owned. I owned hundreds of cryptocurrencies in the marketplace. After making all that wealth, now diversifying into the next big thing. And what is it? It's the blockchainification and tokenization of real estate assets. Okay, that's what Island Project is. People say, what is it? It's the tokenization of a highly specialized real estate portfolio that you own. So when you buy $100,000 worth of the Island Project private placement, you own 100 shares, just like you own 100 shares of stock. And we are registered with the SEC. You can look all this stuff up. It's all public out there, guys. Like we've crossed every T, dotted every I. I have the best team in place, and then we're decentralizing around the world, not just out here in Maui and Oahu. This is the other benefit. It's a decentralized portfolio. I hear you guys say things like, well, Christopher, what happens if something goes down in Maui? Well, who cares? We're going international, just like all the other elites. Do what the elites are doing and do it for yourself. That's what Island Project does with a freedom mindset, which takes care of each other. We're all taking care of each other and we're having some fun. You know, you got to have some good times. Life is short. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll hear people say things like, well, Christopher, if the world's coming to an end, why should I invest? That's exactly why you should invest. In fact, if you think it's the end of the world, you might as well go all in because you have nothing else to lose. And if it's not the end of the world, then you might make 1,000 times your money. What's your other option? Hold your money at the bank and lose 7.5% on an annual basis, where you lose 50% of your money every 9 years, and possibly they institute capital controls and don't allow you to move your own money out of the bank and the fractional reserve. Like, what else do you have to lose? This is what I think is so incredible. You have nothing to lose. And by the way, this is actually when you want to get super aggressive. So let's talk about that right now. Retail money's complacent. If you ask a lot of people, they think Bitcoin's dead, they think it's boring, and they think it's never coming back, which is why you need to buy it. This is why I'm aggressively buying across the board, and it's not just Bitcoin. That's important, okay? And the number one technology that I'm going all in on is my own technology, because I'm the manager of it. Of course, I'm going to go all in on myself, and the number one best of breed asset in the world, real estate with no debt, backed by a blockchain that's going to be tokenized and potentially 1000x and rewarded to all the early birds. So if you look at Island Project, let's just say we're super conservative about it. You get in today, let's say you came in with $100,000. You're likely to triple your money just on the real estate asset itself. Because keep in mind, it's a diversified portfolio of beachfront, oceanfront, condos, and income-producing assets with no debt. You own a fraction of the portfolio, not just one house. Okay, so let's say you got in today. You're likely to triple your money. Maui Boo goes up in price like it always does. It's the new Malibu. Let's say 3 to 5 years, you've tripled your money. And we've paid you to wait with cash flows at project build out. So at the very least, you've done that. It's a triple. You've tripled your money. You're outside of the bank. You're a part of an ecosystem. And you've been paid cash flows in a 0% interest rate market. And you're a part of an amazing, dope community of like minds. And you've come chilled and surfed with me in Maui. You've got access to all my Jeeps in the ecosystem and this dope-ass freedom community that's the new Americana outside of the system. And you've bet on yourself and you've got a little excitement in your life. Secondly, I'm tokenizing, which means quite literally your 100,000 could turn into 5 million or 10 million or 20 million or 100 million. A lot of you were hexed by Richard Hart's hex. In fact, even I was a little bit in the early days, although I did buy into hex and I submitted to the PulseX airdrop, etc. People are like, well, how can this thing just keep going up and up and up and up? This guy's such a polarizing figure. And a lot of people look at me in similar ways, I think. I'm sure Richard and I disagree on certain things, but you're going to watch the same thing happen. This is what I'm telling you with Island Project. You're going to be hexed by it. And you're going to watch me make our founders hundreds of millions and billions of dollars as we roll this thing out. And it's going to be absolutely incredible. So, you know, many of you will look back at this opportunity as another what if, just like many of you look at it as a what if now when I told you to buy Bitcoin under 1,000, I told you to go all in at 3,500, and now I'm telling you to go all in now. I mean, at the very least, I would just join us at the club or school and just buy a little Bitcoin right now, because Bitcoin is very undervalued, in my opinion, right now, and everyone's super negative and super bearish. And again, this is a base. This is a base to build, and the reason for it is low volatility is actually an indicator right now. This is when the institutions always get rich, and I know this firsthand, having been a former banker who, you know, who's always been on the good side, which is why I quit and exposed these crooks and criminals in 2008-09, and along with you, thank God for all you tuning in, built this enormous, amazing platform of truth, which, you know, also talk about this for a minute too. I'm going on a little bit of a tangent. There's very few people that are unique anymore. In fact, people like me invented the alternative media quite literally. So, I mean, you can look up Alternative Media Television's a registered trademark of my platform. Like, we invented it along with a few others. Now people parrot the same message, but they're not unique. They're not doing anything different. It's not exciting. All of you know these tropes and these basic truths that there's a lot of imitators, is what I'm saying. And so my focus isn't focusing on the things that we've already done and the things that we've already invented and the things that we've already built. It's new things, it's new solutions, it's new technologies, it's new inventions like Island Project. And it's building, this is what's so interesting too, is like, this is the time we want to be the most aggressive. So I just want to encourage you guys, you know, when you feel that FOMO, when Bitcoin's hitting new all-time highs and you pile in at the top, which is not what you should be doing, feel the FOMO now. Feel the FOMO now. Realize this guy is telling you the truth on the other side of the camera, me, that I'm telling you the truth. This is actually when you get rich. I'm going to make you guys multi-millionaires if you get into the Island Project. It's not a guarantee. I'm not a financial advisor. Read my disclaimers and disclosures. I have to say that for legal reasons, but that's my full intent, to make you all stinking freaking 1000x rich to the moon. And it's absolutely what I'm going to do along with all of you and my world-class team. And we also need to internationally diversify as much as possible, just like the elites are, because that tells you the state of the world. It tells you the state of the world, that you're going to need ecosystems and what I've dubbed parallel economies outside of collapsing sovereign nation states. And that's what the Island Project is. It's a decentralized, diversified portfolio of real assets and community that's tokenized across the board. Links below, add links, islandprojectclub.com, also islandproject.com. Make sure you get in today and feel the FOMO now, because you will be feeling the greed factor and the FOMO in the coming months. That's when you don't want to get in, okay? I mean, once the blockchain, once I've released it, we start going public, and likely I haven't disclosed when I'm releasing the public blockchain because we're still running our funding round right now for the private placement. Well, when I go public is likely to be during the next mania, which is going to be a massive liquidity event that all of our investors are going to cash in on, 1000x. That's separate from what I just told you about the real estate investment. See, many of you understand what, you know, a real estate investment is, right? So you triple your money, but I've got this tokenization over here that's going to come in 1000x that. You understand how this is going to compound and how significant this is? Even fractionalizing beachfront, that's never been done before in the history of the world. What do you think is going to appreciate more? Our portfolio in Maui, boo, or some chicken crap condo in middle America? It's not going to be the chicken crap condo. It's going to be houses like these and views like these that look fake, because the rich are always going to buy these up, just like they always buy up Bel Air. And this is your only way to own a piece of the action, by the way. How else are you going to own a piece of this highly appreciating tokenized real estate? You're not, unless you got 10, 15, 20 million dollars and you want to park your money here like the rest of the elites that have already basically completed the wealth transfer. I mean, this is just how it works. I'm just telling you guys the truth of all this. It's like when Musk sold all of his real estate in Bel Air. It's not like he can't go back out and buy new mansions on a dime. He can do that anytime he wants. It's just for virtue signaling, and he's going to buy more mansions across the world. It's not like he's going to stop doing that. So my big point today, the big point of this video is the collapse of the U.S. Treasury market. It's not fear-mongering. It's absolutely guaranteed. It's going to happen, in my opinion. Expect a collapse in U.S. Treasuries. Expect panic selling and illiquidity. Janet Yellen is already warning about this. All the bankers know. There was a former federal governor advisor that's warning about this as well. Everyone knows this. Okay, so trust this plan. Trust liquidity freezes. This is what's going to happen. That's what capital controls are. They're liquidity freezes as a result of gross negligence, mismanagement, or I would argue intention by the central bank Federal Reserve to transfer all the wealth and then collapse the United States of America into the new system. So they can do everything that I told you they're going to do. Reset the system, collapse the petrodollar, introduce UBI, central bank digital currencies, and everything else that they've been working on for years. So get ready. Be aggressive, ladies and gentlemen. Join the Island Project today. Got more hats going out to hundreds of you, hundreds of new investors we've onboarded. There, of course, is a 30K minimum to get in. I encourage you to come in with more. We've had a lot of investors come in with 100, 150, 250, then double and triple and ante up the investment once they get involved and see what we're doing. They start, like I'm telling you guys, don't FOMO at the wrong time. FOMO now, when volatility is low, when the cryptocurrency market's at 1 trillion, when people are telling you things like Bitcoin is dead and it's never going to moon again. This is when you want to FOMO. You want to FOMO now. Anyways, I'll have more content coming. I have a highly specialized and very private video coming to the club. Join those links right now, 1,500 minimum to get into the club to see that. If you're a placement member, you'll get it. Bitcoin Rich Legacy, I'm actually hooking you guys up because I'm freaking awesome. And by the way, I'm taking care of everybody, if you haven't noticed that. Okay, I figured out ways to take care of all of you and our entire audience, no matter where you guys are on the financial spectrum. I always do what's right. I've got diamond nuts. No one else in the world has diamond nuts. There's only one dude on this planet right now, okay, with the diamond nuts to 1000x the island project and build new freedom inroads in blockchain technology and use all of his talents, wealth that he's created, totally against the grain when people said it was impossible, and then pour this into the new digital Noah's Ark. And why am I doing it? Why am I doing it? How come I'm not just, sipping Mai Tais myself and taking my nice retirement exit? Number one, that would be incredibly boring. Number two, I don't think it's godly. I think it's gluttonous. The last thing that I would ever want to do is retire and sit on my ass all day. And thirdly, I've been instructed by God to build the new digital Noah's Ark, just like Noah. For all of you guys to use all my talents, any wealth that I've created, my team, my guts, no guts, no glory, to go out and build this entire new economic, financial freedom system and parallel economy, which is the digital Noah's Ark and the Island Project you can learn more about at islandproject.com. There's times, ladies and gentlemen, where it's just you and God, and you're sailing on your sailboat or on the Island Project itself. And you've got to go all in and have 100% faith and courage in the Lord Jesus. In fact, very few people actually have that courage. So I just encourage all of you, if you're in that moment now, and in addition to that, I'll change your mindset too. I change your mindset as a part of Island Project. I empower you guys. I teach you guys to go out and be spiritual, economic, financial warriors, and to go out there and to be the benefactor, so to speak. And I believe the Christian millionaires and billionaires, so I'm going to make all of you, to go out there and kick major ass and fight back against the evil empire that wants to control all of us, put chips in our heads, and order us around and tell us what to do. Well, I don't know about you. I will never get on my knees for anyone but Jesus Christ, our King. And I will always stand and fight for what is right. I believe your values should never be compromised. Integrity is the most important thing that you have. And then in addition to that, not just what you think about, but your action sets. So if you want to grow some diamond nuts, I encourage you to do it today and join us. Okay, invest $100K, $250K, $1 million in the Island Project. That's the limit, by the way. I've limited whales into the Island Project, just FYI. No more than $1 million can come into the private placement. And the reason that I did that is I don't want one single interest controlling it. And the purpose of that is to democratize for the little guy the private placement. Later on, when we've tokenized the blockchain and we become a multi-billion-dollar asset class and technology, and I've rolled that out with my team of consultants and great people like my father, of course, that's when people will be able to buy things fractionally at less than $1, just like Bitcoin. You'll be able to get in then, okay, but you're going to miss out on all the 1000x returns. Just like in other cryptocurrency technologies, it's the people that get into the seed round. And I've discussed this privately with many of our members that have already onboarded. I could have just private rounded all of this. Like, it's not hard for my father and I can bring on one other investor, raise $33.5 million, which is what our democratized round one target is for all of you early birds, which we're just about there. And you're not going to be able to get in once we hit that mark. That's easier for me to do, but that's not any fun. Okay, and that doesn't empower the little guy. That doesn't reward my audience, those of you that have believed in me all these years, that have bet on AMTV, that are betting on the Island Project, that are betting on yourself and saying, you know what? I've been watching Chris for a long time. I'm going to bet on him. I'm going to bet on that 1000x. And, I'll just tell you guys, too, from the bottom of my heart, I'm obviously not a perfect person, but I will always stand tall like a freaking general, and I will always see it through to the end of my days. And I plan on being here, God willing, for a very long time. And I have an amazing team. I'm so blessed and so lucky to have the consultancy and the input and the real estate expertise, people like my father, et cetera, as part of our group, and a lot of others that I'll introduce you to very soon. I have an entire consulting team around Island Project and our blockchain launch, which is world-class. I'm the creator of it. Okay, I'm the visionary. I'm the dude you see every day on camera. I got an entire team in place helping me build this out along with you. Also, I'd love to see you here out in beautiful Maui, Boo. If you'd like access to one of our Jeeps, go to my website, rentmauijeeps.com, and book one today. I'll give you a discount. All of our Island Project members get discounts on that. And all of our members at Project Build Out also get big discounts on stays in Maui. So for example, as an investor, in addition to everything else we just talked about, I mean, this is incredible. Think about this. Let's say you visit Maui and you stay at a hotel for $1,000 a night. Instead of staying at a hotel for $1,000 a night, you get a massive discount on the stays of our private portfolio at Project Build Out, and you get to stay at places like this. So instead of being at an Airbnb, something that honestly ain't that good and you never get your return on investment back, you stay at one of the Island Project properties that you actually own. How cool is that? So when you're hanging out for your week or whatever it is, 10 days you come in, you're getting a discount. You're paying less than you would at an Airbnb or a hotel, which you'd only get a small room, okay? But you actually get to stay at the properties that you actually own. I'm also gonna be holding private events here in Maui, Boo, things that where people can fly out and mastermind groups, networking opportunities with world-class people and investors and some of the most brilliant people in the world in blockchain tech. So for you business owners out there, and for those of you that are already very successful, as many of you are, as a part of my project, this is another opportunity just to scale up, network yourself with other successful people and people on the cutting edge of all this new technology, etc. Feel free to go out and make millions more. I mean, that's the whole point of everything I'm doing. I'm building a true incubator of success for everyone. Somebody's got to do it, ladies and gentlemen. 1000x to the freaking moon and beyond. Islandproject.com. Want to see you there. I'm Christopher Greene. I always tell you the truth. God bless, and Jesus Christ is King. Expect a full market U.S. Treasury collapse in the United States very soon. An imminent liquidity freeze, of which now Janet Yellen and the rest of the central bank Federal Reserve System is warning about. And also expect the Federal Reserve to start easing and the hyperpump and the inflationary collapse to continue. Leverage yourself, learn, and profit from what is happening. And I'll teach you how to do that today, another benefit of the club and Island Project with the private video that I'll be releasing shortly. And for the first 25 of you that get into the club, of course, we can schedule a consult call with me, yours truly, for about 15, 30 minutes. And you can ask me anything about your portfolio, advice, anything that you wanted to know my opinion on. I'm happy to book and schedule. And for those of you that have already onboarded the club membership, I am getting back to those callbacks. So just be assured that I'm doing that, and I really appreciate your support and your commitment to the truth, to freedom and liberty, while the rest of these dirty politicians and corrupt government officials continue to screw you. So again, if you're unwilling to build yourself up and do big things, that's your fault. There's plenty of opportunity in the world. In fact, there's more opportunity now in this chaos and disruption than there's ever been. When markets are good and things are normal, okay, and there's peace and stability in the world, there's not as much opportunity. There's more opportunity in chaos, disruption, and economic collapse like we're currently in. And I'll leave you with this too. If you don't do something, you're only screwing yourself, because the next major narrative build is putting chips in your brain. And I was even listening to Alex Jones talk about this over the weekend, because he's a psyop in and of himself. He's done some good things for America, I think, and I don't agree with everything. He's done maybe put out some truths out there to the public, but there's a lot that I disagree with, and I don't condone necessarily the things that he's said. However, I was listening to him over the weekend, and he was actually telling his audience that Elon Musk is actually a good guy, and that putting a chip in your head might not be a bad thing as long as it doesn't control you. So that just goes to show you what a psyop he actually is. No chip is a good thing in your head. It's the mark of the beast, ladies and gentlemen. There's not a good Republican libertarian microchip to put in your head. When you put a chip into your head, you're accepting Satan, okay, into your soul, and you're accepting an override of the instruction manual right here that God gave you, which is perfect. So when Alex Jones tells you there's a potentially good chip to take, he's a liar. He's an absolute liar, and he's a great deceiver with no solutions. People like me have real solutions. which is why I've already poured tens of millions of dollars of my own hard-earned capital into the island project. Because my goal is to empower you guys so you can stand your ground, not be just a whiny little bitch telling you to take a chip in your head. I'll tell you this straight up, never take a chip in your head. I don't care if they say it's a good chip or a bad chip or a Republican chip or a MAGA chip or a leftist chip. Never put a chip in your head. The minute you accept the mark of the beast, it's over. So never accept it. And that's going to be the next major narrative. And I'm telling you guys now, they're going to tell you how great it is. It's going to be sold as an upgrade. It's going to include benefits to your wellness, let's just say. And they're going to sell it as something you want to do to compete in the job market. And eventually, as they take human beings as the base layer motherboard, they're going to convert humans into these transhumanist androids that will eternally separate themselves from God and only live, honestly, in my biblical spiritual viewpoint, in eternal damnation and desolation away from our King. So what I'm telling you guys is you have to resist. It's not just about making money, although I'm going to make you guys incredibly rich. It's about standing your ground and sailing and going 100% all in with God, the Creator, in Jesus Christ, our King, having 100% eternal faith in Him and Him alone, and realizing all these other people, they're deceiving you. Maybe they do some good things. God chooses imperfect vessels. I'm totally cool with that, and I understand that. I'm an imperfect vessel. But I'm telling you straight up, if anyone starts defending Musk and the brain chip, you know there's someone not to listen to. You know that that's the warning sign. Okay, not to mention a lot of other warning signs, like, for example, who's been supporting Trump for all these years and still supports him? Alex Jones. Trump is responsible for Operation Warp Speed. That's all you need to know. You don't need to know anything else. You don't need to know what he says. You always watch people's actions. He's the founder and creator of Operation Warp Speed, which has completely decimated the world. And now it's coming out now. Ben Shapiro and others are saying, oh, I've been lied to about everything. I wouldn't have taken it if I knew now. Well, that just shows your absolute negligence, stupidity, and the fact you have zero discernment in front of everyone else. I knew day one, along with many of you, that this was one giant deception of Satan. And we've stood our ground from the very beginning, whether or not it was 2008-09 or it was the heart of the peer pressure groupthink storm in 2020. We warned about it, and now we're going on to build the most world-class community in the world. And it's an honor to do it. And it's an honor to go out and you build out all this amazing stuff with you. Anyways, I love you. God bless. Jesus Christ is King. Like and share. Get this out to your friend and family. And unless you have a solution yourself that's better than the ones that I've posed for you, then honestly, lead, follow, or get out of the way. But I encourage you to join Island Project, where the real men stand and the real women stand, and grow those big freaking 1000X diamond nuts to the freaking moon and beyond. I'm Christopher Greene, hard-hitting and in your face. Links below and up here. And by subscribing and becoming a member, and remember, you can only speak with me or my team. I will never contact you on WhatsApp or Telegram, so ignore all those comments. That's not us. And when in doubt, give us a call and hear my Father's voice, or hear my team's voice, or hear my voice. And if you're ever in doubt, unless you hear me speaking or me instructing or telling you something, or you hear me on the phone and say, yeah, hey, it's Christopher here, or you're talking to my dad, then it's not us. Okay, so be careful as well. I'm always here to protect you guys. I love you. Thank you for what you do for me. It really is an incredible honor. And I say that with absolute humility and totally humbled by your grace. And of course, the grace of the Lord. I love you guys. I'll always do right by you. Amen. God bless. Jesus Christ is King. Island Project 1000X to the freaking moon.